You know, it's funny. When we picture rejection in a professional setting, we tend to picture something really loud.
Oh, right. Like something dramatic.
Exactly, like a slam door in your face or a firm no, or someone literally walking out of a meeting. We expect it to be this huge, obvious thing.
Yeah, but that is rarely how it actually happens in sales, is it?
No, not at all. You step into a modern conference room or you hop on a video call, and modern rejection is, well, it's completely silent.
Yes. It is deeply quiet.
It looks exactly like polite agreement.
That is the absolute definition of a hidden no, right there. The person sitting across from you is nodding, they are smiling, maybe even taking notes, but internally, they closed the door 20 minutes ago.
It's so true. And there's this staggering truth out there. 7 out of 10 buyers feel that the pitch they are listening to right now, in that moment, could have been given to literally any other company in their industry.
70%. That is a massive number of people feeling completely unseen.
Right. 7 out of 10 times, you, the person presenting, are viewed as totally interchangeable. So that is our mission for this deep dive today. For you listening, whether you are stressed about your target or just tired of client ghosting, we are unpacking the psychology behind making a pitch feel intensely personal.
Because that is the real secret, isn't it? Top performers are walking into these rooms using the exact same slide decks.
Right, the same marketing materials as the average performers?
Exactly. But they are closing way more deals, they are bringing in more revenue, and keeping their pipeline full. And the difference has nothing to do with the slides themselves.
So it's not about having a prettier font choice.
No, not at all. If you watch a prospect glance at their phone, or if you notice their answers suddenly shrink from, full sentences to one-word replies, that isn't a critique of your graphics. It is a biological signal.
A biological signal? Wait, say more about that.
Well, it means they have stopped feeling seen. They have realized that the presentation is just an exercise in the speaker talking about themselves rather than addressing the client's actual reality.
And you only get, what, about 90 seconds to prove otherwise?
Just about, yeah, 1.5 minutes.
That is wild. 90 seconds for them to decide if they're going to lean in or just mentally check out. So how does a perfectly good, highly polished pitch crash and burn before you even hit the second slide?
To understand the mechanics of that crash, we really have to look past business strategy for a second and look at biology. Specifically, the root cause of why the human brain tunes things out.
Okay, I'm with you.
There's a built-in biological filter. It's called the reticular activating system. Many of us just call it the RAS for short.
The RAS, so let's visualize this for a second. The RAS acts like this incredibly aggressive spam filter, right? Like it's programmed by human evolution.
That is a brilliant way to frame it, actually. Yes, a spam filter. At any given second, your senses are just bombarded with thousands of inputs.
Right, like the hum of the air conditioner.
Exactly. The physical feeling of the chair you're sitting in, the ambient light in the room, the specific words someone is saying. If your brain attempted to process all of that consciously all at once,
You just freeze up.
you would crash. Your cognitive load would max out instantly. So the RAS has this singular biological mandate. It filters out anything that isn't essential for your immediate survival or your success.
And how does that spam filter decide what actually makes it to our conscious mind? Like what gets into the inbox?
Well, it is hunting for highly specific keywords. It's neurologically wired to prioritize anything connected to your own name, your own goals, an immediate problem you are facing, or your personal identity.
Oh, I see. It's the reason you can completely tune out a generic radio ad playing in the background of a coffee shop.
Exactly. You don't even hear it.
But if the announcer suddenly mentions your specific hometown or like a street you drive on every single day, your head just snaps up.
Right. The spam filter catches the keyword. It says, wait, this is about us.
That makes so much sense.
And a generic business pitch, no matter how beautifully designed, is just that background radio ad. It gives the buyer's brain absolutely no keywords to grab onto.
Wow.
But if you open a meeting by using their own words or their specific industry metrics or a frustration they voiced in an earlier email, you bypass the filter, you instantly light up the RAS because the brain always cares about itself more than general information.
I do have to challenge this just a little bit, though, because I have been in rooms where a stunning, highly produced deck absolutely commanded attention.
Sure.
Like the visuals were gorgeous, the delivery was totally flawless. Are you really saying that polish doesn't matter? Because if I spend 3 days perfecting a pitch, doesn't that sheer hard work buy me at least a few minutes of genuine engagement?
I hear what you're saying. It buys you politeness.
Politeness.
Yes. But we can't confuse politeness with real engagement. There's a massive gap between effort spent on polish versus effort spent on relevance.
Okay, unpack that gap for me.
A beautifully polished slide deck tells the prospect that you care about your own brand. You want to look good. Relevance tells the prospect that you care about their specific survival.
Ah, okay. That's a huge difference.
It is. If the pitch isn't relevant, the buyer's brain actively labels it as not a threat, not a reward, and just routes it straight to the junk folder.
So they might sit there and say, oh, great point, while they're mentally drafting their grocery list.
We're drafting their polite "we'll get back to you" email.
Oh.
They stay in the room out of social grace, but internally, the decision has already been made. You didn't give the spam filter what it needed.
Man, if the brain literally craves relevance just to stay awake, it really forces us to ask why so many smart, capable people in sales are essentially just sending spam.
It really does.
Mm.
And to understand why, we have to look at the myths that so many of us fall for.
Let's talk about the big one. The volume versus specificity myth. There is this deep assumption out there that if you just cover more features, throw more benefits at the wall, you somehow increase the odds that something will stick.
Oh, we see that everywhere. It's driven by fear, honestly. The logic is that covering 20 features creates a wider net than just covering 3.
Right. It feels safer.
It feels safer, but it actually hurts your conversion rate. When you look at how top sellers handle conversations versus average performers, the contrast is stark. Top sellers spend a massive chunk of their meetings investigating and discussing the client's unique context.
They asked questions.
Yes. While average performers spend the vast majority of the meeting just monologuing about their own product.
So monologuing actually works against you.
Completely. Volume dilutes attention. When you list 20 features, you increase the cognitive load on the prospect. You force them to sift through this huge pile of information to find what matters to them.
Which their brain doesn't want to do.
Exactly. Relevance, on the other hand, concentrates attention. When buyers are looking at 2 competing offers that are basically identical on paper, the deciding factor is almost never the sheer volume of features.
What is it then?
They choose the offer that delivers specific insight into their exact problem. Insight wins over features every time.
But what about the find and replace strategy? Because I think a lot of people listening might assume they're being relevant when they take a master slide deck, swap out the logo on the title slide, hit Control-F to change the company name, and just call it tailored.
Right, the fake tailoring trick.
Yeah.
Surface-level changes are actually a trap, and they can actively damage trust.
Really? Damage trust.
Think about it like slapping a custom name tag on a plastic mannequin. It looks okay from a distance, but the moment the prospect asks a real question, one that requires a deep understanding of their business model, the illusion shatters.
Because you don't actually know their business.
Exactly. You prove that your tailoring was purely cosmetic, and that signals a lack of depth. It instantly raises their guard because now they know you're just running a script.
Which brings up a really big assumption about who we are actually pitching to. There's this stubborn myth that senior executive level buyers, the real decision makers, that they don't care about a personal touch.
Oh, that they just want the raw data.
Right. We imagine them as these cold, logical calculators who just want to look at a spreadsheet and make a binary choice. Keep it brief. No fluff.
It's a very common belief, but the reality is the exact opposite. Senior buyers sit through more generic, recycled template pitches than anyone else in a company.
Oh, that makes sense. Everyone is trying to pitch them.
Yes, everyone pitches them and everyone uses the same boring templates. Because of that deep fatigue, they actually reward specificity way more sharply than mid-level managers do.
Wow. So they are actually starving for relevance.
They really are. When someone finally walks into their office and reflects their highly specific business problems back to them, it is so rare that it becomes a massive driver of trust.
So the higher up the corporate ladder you go, the more aggressive their mental spam filter becomes. They demand a personalized VIP pass just to start a chat.
Exactly. And keep in mind, modern buyers do their own homework. By the time they grant you a meeting, they have already looked at your website. They have read your marketing sheets.
They know the basics.
Right. They have filtered out the generic stuff on their own time. They do not need you to sit there and read your website out loud to them.
It's just a waste of their time. The irony of how this lack of relevance shows up over time is just fascinating to me. Let's trace the career life cycle of a pitch, because the reasons a person fails at age 22 are completely different from the reasons they fail at 45.
That life cycle reveals so much about our shifting internal priorities. It's something many of us go through.
Okay, let's start with the early career stage. Say, roughly 22 to 28 years old. What happens there?
Well, in that early stage, a presenter usually relies on the rigid script. You deliver the pitch you were trained on word for word because you are terrified of missing a single bullet point.
Oh, I know that feeling. You are focused entirely on your own performance, like you are reciting a play rather than just talking to the human being sitting in front of you.
Exactly, which guarantees the buyer's RAS filters you out. You aren't speaking to them, you're speaking at them.
Okay, so then you move into the growth stage, ages 28 to 35.
Right, the growth stage. This is the era of frustrating ups and downs. One week, your pitch lands brilliantly, you feel like a genius. The next week, using the exact same tone and the same words, it completely bombs.
And that up and down isn't just bad luck, is it? It's the absence of a system.
Precisely. The pitch that worked just happened to accidentally align with the hidden needs of that particular buyer. It was a lucky break, not a planned outcome.
Okay, so then we hit the management stage, ages 35 and up. What changes here?
This is where the structural damage happens for a lot of teams. A manager watches their entire group rely on the laziest version of a recycled master deck. The leader's team revenue is totally capped because the reps just cannot move beyond generic templates.
Because they were never taught how to tailor it.
Right. And finally, you reach the experience stage, 45 and older. Here you have someone with decades of incredible face-to-face relationship skills.
They know how to read a room.
Exactly. But suddenly, the world shifts, and they're presenting to digital-first buyers on a video screen. The fear is that their hard-earned experience just doesn't translate anymore.
But it does translate, right?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
The core mechanics of relevance haven't changed at all. The human instinct to read a room is still vital. They just have to redirect that instinct through a new medium.
Exploring these stages made me realize something deeply relatable about the hidden saboteur behind these generic pitches. It often has nothing to do with a lack of skill or even a lack of care.
What do you think it comes down to?
Cognitive load and lifestyle. I mean, I remember prepping for a crucial meeting last year. I was running on my third iced coffee. I was sprinting directly from another complex call, and my brain just refused to do the hard work of taking in new info.
Your brain was exhausted.
Completely. I took terrible shallow notes in the discovery phase, which meant I had no raw material to build a custom pitch. I essentially forced myself to just fall back on the master template because I was too tired to do anything else.
That is such a common experience. The quality of your preparation is completely tied to your biological state. A fatigued brain is desperate to conserve energy.
Right, it's just trying to survive the day.
Exactly. Taking in complex, nuanced details about a new client burns a massive amount of mental fuel. Defaulting to a generic template, that burns almost none.
So it's a survival mechanism.
It is. When you are rushing back to back, your brain literally protects itself by choosing the path of least resistance.
So the fix for this isn't, adding another hour of prep time to your schedule.
No. The fix is a 10-minute biological reset.
Just 10 minutes.
Just 10 minutes. Taking 10 minutes of absolute quiet time before a call. Drinking a glass of water instead of pouring more caffeine into an already jittery nervous system.
That makes a lot of sense.
Just sitting and reviewing your notes while breathing calmly. That tiny reset allows your brain to step out of survival mode. And when you are calm, you can actually catch the small details.
Like a unique phrase the prospect used or an offhand comment about some frustration they have.
Exactly. Those tiny hooks are the exact keywords you need to bypass their spam filter.
Okay, so we've mapped out the biology and we understand the cognitive load. Let's look at how we actually create relevance when we are in the room.
Let's do it.
There are two great stories that really show the tactical steps to bridge this gap. Let's look at Ryan first. He was selling enterprise software to mid-sized parts companies.
Right, he was stuck in that growth stage plateau we talked about.
Yep, totally relying on the find and replace strategy.
Yeah.
So he had this stalled deal with a factory prospect. Early on in the talks, the buyer mentioned their biggest fear was repeating a costly production shutdown from the previous year.
A huge keyword right there.
A massive keyword. But Ryan didn't use it. He went right into his autopilot pitch.
He reverted back to the general company overview and the standard feature list, even though the ultimate clue was just handed to him.
Exactly. And halfway through, he starts seeing the silent rejection.
The polite nodding.
Yes. The buyer's arms are crossed. Their answers are shrinking. Ryan knows his pitch is sitting in the spam folder. But then he does something really unusual.
What do you do?
He pauses. He looks down at his notes. completely abandons his default slide order, and he says, "You mentioned the shutdown last year cost you nearly 2 weeks of production. Let me show you exactly how this prevents that specific scenario."
Oh, that pivot is the hinge point of the entire deal.
It really was. The buyer leans in, their posture opens up, and they start asking really detailed questions. Ryan didn't use some sneaky psychological trick. He used a tactic called adaptive pitch sequencing.
Adaptive pitch sequencing. Yes.
Yeah.
He reordered his material live, in the moment,
Yeah.
based entirely on the buyer's stated priority.
He stopped forcing them to sit through 5 slides of corporate history just to earn the right to hear the solution.
Which is exactly how you have to do it. If a buyer's house is on fire, you do not start by explaining the chemical makeup of the water in your hose.
Right, you just start with the fire.
You focus on the fire.
And that flows directly into another tactic, opening with the buyer's priority. So many people start meetings with, "Hi, here's who we are, and here is our agenda."
Which instantly signals that the meeting is about you, not them.
Right. But opening with, "You told me you're losing 2 weeks of production," signals instantly that the whole structure of this chat was built just for them.
It changes the entire energy of the room.
It does. But, reordering your pitch saved Ryan's deal because he actually uncovered the right problem to begin with. What happens if you fundamentally misunderstand how the buyer measures their own success?
Ah, that is the subtle trap.
That's what happened to Lisa in the healthcare space.
The Lisa story is such a brilliant warning against treating all buyers like one generic group.
So true. She was selling analytics software to hospital leaders, and honestly, her software was objectively better than the rest, yet she kept losing to a smaller, weaker competitor.
Which is so frustrating.
Beyond frustrating. Finally, a prospect actually explained why. The competitor spent their entire meeting showing how to reduce patient wait times. And it turns out that specific metric was the exact number the hospital leader's yearly bonus was tied to.
Wow. And what was Lisa talking about?
Lisa had spent her time talking about general platform features, just broad, sweeping benefits.
She was relying on that volume versus specificity myth, just hoping the hospital leader would connect the dots for themselves.
Exactly. So Lisa completely rebuilds her system. She starts asking a single question at the end of every discovery call. She asks, "What specific number is your leadership judging you on this year?"
That is a phenomenal question.
Isn't it? And then she anchored every single follow-up meeting to that one metric. She deployed a tactic called the one-page buyer snapshot.
The snapshot, yes. And to be clear, the snapshot is not a massive 20-page account plan that nobody ever reads.
No, it's super brief.
It is 3 to 5 lines. Their stated priority, their timeline, the internal pressure they are facing, and the specific number they are evaluated on. That's it.
And you just review that document for 60 seconds before walking into the room.
Right. It acts as a cognitive override. It resets your brain away from your comfortable default script, and it locks you directly onto their reality.
Alongside the snapshot, Lisa also mastered vocabulary mirroring.
Which is so crucial.
Because a hospital leader and, say, a shipping logistics director might be facing the exact same underlying software issue. But they describe their pain using totally different words.
If you rely on your own internal company jargon, you brand yourself as an outsider. You were just a vendor.
But when you use their words,
When you deliberately absorb and speak the buyer's specific industry terms, you signal fluency in their world. You lower their defensive walls because you sound like a peer, not a salesperson trying to force a fit.
it builds trust so quickly.
Yeah.
And there's another tactic here that I think really cures that awful feeling of imposter syndrome we sometimes get: proactive objections.
I love this one.
Using the buyer's own language to bring up their biggest concern before they even have a chance to say it out loud.
Yes. If a buyer hinted earlier that their team is just too burned out to learn a new software tool, avoiding that topic makes you look clueless.
Like you weren't listening.
Exactly. But addressing it directly, saying something like, "You mentioned your team is already stretched thin, so here's exactly how we absorb the heavy lifting in the first 2 weeks." That builds immense credibility.
You name the hard part first.
You do.
Mm.
It proves you aren't there to paint some naive, rosy picture. You are there to navigate their actual reality.
Okay, I have to ask a really critical follow-up question here, because we've talked about gathering all this great data, but what about the thin discovery problem?
Oh, the silent buyer.
Right. You get on that initial call, you try to find their metrics, you ask the right questions, but the prospect gives you almost nothing. They are guarded, they give one-word answers. You cannot build a one-page snapshot out of empty space.
No, you can't.
So what do? Do you just fall back on the generic pitch and cross your fingers?
The temptation to just barrel forward is huge, especially under target pressure, but it is a massive mistake.
Right.
Because thin discovery is, in itself, a crucial piece of data. It tells you that your initial questions weren't sharp enough, or that a foundational layer of trust just hasn't been built yet. Taking that thin, flimsy information and launching into a generic pitch, that guarantees the silent rejection.
So you have to stop the train entirely.
You do. Thin discovery is an invitation to pause before the big pitch happens.
Yeah.
You reach back out to the client and you say, before we dive into the full scope today, I realized we didn't fully unpack the specific area, and I want to ensure I am entirely respecting your time.
It forces you to gather the raw material.
Yes. Without the raw material, the RAS will filter you out no matter how beautifully you present the empty information.
Man, when we pull back and look at all of the biology, the myths, the tactics, the core lesson boils down to something deeply human, doesn't it?
It really does.
The single biggest factor buyers report when choosing between two basically identical offers isn't the feature list, and it isn't the price. The deciding factor is which person made them feel like that specific meeting could not have happened with anyone else in the room.
It is the profound feeling of being deeply understood. And what we've seen today is that this feeling isn't generated by some magic trick or innate charm.
No, it's a process.
It is engineered through deliberate, repeatable habits. The snapshot, the sequencing, the biological reset, these are learnable mechanics of empathy.
It is an engineered system for relevance.
It is. But, I want to leave you with a thought that pulls this entirely out of the professional realm for a moment.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If the reticular activating system, this ruthless biological spam filter, completely blocks out anything that isn't personally relevant in a conference room, how much of our everyday talking is suffering the exact same fate?
That is a fascinating pivot.
Think about our personal relationships, a marriage, trying to convince a close friend to change a bad habit. How often are we just monologuing about our own priorities?
Using our own vocabulary.
Exactly. Using our own words, talking about our own feelings, and then feeling deeply frustrated when the other person seems tuned out. Are they intentionally rejecting us? Or are we just giving their neurological filter absolutely nothing to grab onto?
Oh, wow.
What if we applied the one-page snapshot mindset to our personal lives? What if we took 60 seconds to actively remember the other person's current pressures, their fatigue levels, and their priorities before we started a difficult chat?
Could we use the science of relevance to just become better listeners for the people we love?
I think we can.
It all comes back to that biological need we discussed at the very beginning. Nobody wants to be handed a beautifully wrapped box only to open it and find a generic "to whom it may concern" mug inside.
No one wants that.
Whether it's a client or a partner, we all just want to feel seen. Something for you to think about the next time you walk into a meeting room or your own living room.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Sales Geeks has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same honest way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to your informant, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Sales Geeks reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the Join button right next to the Sales Geeks logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Sales Support Circle. Your support helps honest sales awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Sales Geeks moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.